All right, bro. What's up?
What's going on?
Oh, nothing much, man. Just finishing
I
some.
got guilty looks.
What? What?
No, I'm not, nothing, just stuff.
Oh,
Don't worry about it. No, that's okay. It's all good.
oh, okay.
If it occurs to me, I'll tell you offline.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, you just took a nap, and I was just finishing some
Uh-huh.
some. I call it outreach now
Oh,
because I've
okay.
really
Okay.
changed my strategy, the way I've been doing social media.
hmm
So what I've been doing is, social media tends to be very passive. You post
hmm
stuff, and then you're basically, it's no different than going to Vegas and pulling a slot machine. Pulling a, yeah. You
Yeah.
you you're
Yeah.
sitting
Yeah.
there hoping that you're gonna spend triple diamonds,
No.
but you probably gonna get that one that comes, you're gonna get two, and then you get that one that comes down slow.
The half. The half. Yeah.
It come down slow, and then you're like, hell.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
typically what happens with social media, right? Like you're
hmm
hoping basically serendipity, opportunity,
Yeah.
all these forces combine, and then somebody sees everybody's doing this, like everybody
Yes.
who's
Yes.
actually trying to grow something. I've changed it up,
Okay.
and I was just
Okay.
telling Ryan about this the other day. What I'm doing is, and it's simple, man. It's a boring strategy. It's the equivalent to knocking on doors. Basically, I'm finding people that might resonate with my stories and my stuff, and I send
hmm
them a nice note. I just send them a DM
Okay.
basically, and I say, "Hey, my
Oh,
name's
okay.
Keith.
Okay.
I'm a novelist. I'm working on this story. I think you might like it. Here's a link to
Yeah.
the
Okay.
story." And typically I find them through something that they wrote or something that they made. And so I said, "Hey, I read
Mm.
your article on whatever, and I like
hmm
this about it, whatever." Actually, the one that I just sent right before we came on is so interesting
Uh-huh.
because he's an astrology guy.
Oh, okay.
And not like the hocus pocus stuff. Like he's like
Uh-huh.
your brand of astrology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got the charts. He's talking about what was he talking about? Man, it was a super astrology term that I've heard you use before, but I was like, I don't know exactly what he's talking about, but I've heard it before. Anyway, it's not coming to me,
Yeah.
but sextile or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It was
Okay.
something like very like you only know this if you're like
Yeah.
on like approaching your level.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I actually
Very
recommended
cool.
him your books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Neat.
because if somebody's
Neat.
that deep into it, and he's written two books himself, maybe
Okay.
offline I'll pass you his information because I was like,
Okay.
this guy is on the next level. But anyway, so yeah, I reached out to this guy and I sent him the link, and I've been doing this. I started last week, basically at the beginning of the month. I started doing
Mm-hmm.
this, and my goal is to every day introduce my work to someone new
Oh, okay.
through this
Okay.
method. And
Cool. So you like, are you like trading services or something with them, or are you
no, there's no
kind of
services.
just like network,
It's
growing the
yeah, it's a
network and the support
network, it's an
system? Okay.
introduction. It's the equivalent of knocking on doors.
Okay. Okay.
It's door knocking. And it's crazy that it's something so simple, but
hmm
honestly, people don't do it anymore because
No. Yeah.
they've they've basically let the platforms dictate
Yeah.
what people see. And as we all know, the platforms, they don't have you in mind. It's optimized for
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
different than what we want. And I don't see anybody, because I feel like, if I was on the other end of it, right? If somebody approached me and saw my stuff and be like, "Hey, Keith, I see you write military game tech fiction. You're into
Yeah.
this kind of sci-fi stuff, military. I wrote this. I think you would like it." I'd pay a
Yeah.
lot more attention. I don't know if I'd
Okay.
immediately drop everything and read it, but
hmm
I'd pay a lot more attention. And then I'm
Okay.
combining this with this also tactic. There's so many things. I don't want to dominate the conversation today, but I'm Sinkhole, this
hmm
project that I've been working on.
Yes. Yes.
There's
I
so
saw
many.
I s- I saw a little bit about it
Yeah,
when I temporarily crept onto one of the social media feeds.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's really I've taken a lot of risks, and it's a really
Mhm.
special project because
Yeah.
it's the first, probably the first ever novella that's developed in conjunction with AI.
Mm,
Like it's an
mhm.
AI human production all the way
Mm,
through,
mm.
from
Okay.
first draft to final edit to now I'm working on the audiobook,
Mm,
the audio version. There's just I've used AI the entire way, but
mhm.
it still has managed to be one of my most narratively complete stories that I've written.
Okay. All right.
And it's just it's a pretty amazing project. But one of the other experiments that I've been doing is, you know how in literature, in books,
Mhm.
we typically go away, we write the book, and then we come back and say, "Hey, I wrote this book.
Mhm.
Come buy it. Here's my book blurb. Here's my stuff, whatever." But I thought about it, like from the world of software, right? Software,
Yeah.
it tends to be the opposite. It's typically more open source. You have like a V1 that's bare bones, and you know
Mhm.
nobody's going to buy the V1. It's just beta. This is the way a lot of AI companies have been doing it the last few years. It's in
Yeah.
beta for like a long time, 4 months,
Yeah,
5 months, 6 months. People can use it pretty much freely. And then after it's proven and after it's trained up, then they clamp down and say, okay, here's the monthly subscription, here's the fees or whatever. So I was like, what if we did that for books?
Hmm.
This is a
Mm.
this is not something that people think about, because and I think it's different obviously because when you're writing a book, it's first drafts tend to be really messy for a lot of people, some more than others. You know, the story is not fleshed out, not everything's in there. It's a big risk to
Mhm.
just put it up as you're writing. But that's exactly what I did with this the entire time.
Okay.
Similar to Hayden Brave, but definitely more so because Hayden Brave, I didn't have the whole like thing just
Yeah.
out on my website. Like I would share a lot of clips and stuff with y'all, but
Mhm.
this is completely, it's been open the entire time. And
Mhm.
the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to optimize for reads. Like I just
Mm.
want to get
Mm.
read. I want people
Yeah.
to see that my stories are interesting. I want people to come into this world of military game tech fiction,
Mhm.
and that I can't put it behind a paywall and expect people to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because less and less people are, and I read this and watched this in a video yesterday, and it would be interesting to get your take or your side on this. People just don't want to buy information anymore. They won't pay for
Mm.
information. They won't
Mm.
pay for stories because
Yeah.
stories are a dime a dozen, you know? Just
Yeah.
flick on YouTube, just flick on TV is
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
free with, you know, you get a Roku or something, you get one of these streaming platforms. All you need is YouTube basically, and
Mhm.
you can watch whatever you want. And so that means those of us who are writing and creating stories, we have to the old model of I wrote this book and
Yeah.
the gatekeeping of the barrier of
Yeah.
19.99, 9.99, hell, even if it's $1.99, you're doing like the Amazon discount thing or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, don't
so
work.
so so this is a well, okay, so this is a for the most part, yes. This is one of those areas where it's interesting to see our different genres.
Mm,
Because I agree. I think for the most part, information is everywhere, stories are everywhere, and so especially if you're writing in a field like fiction, or you're writing some kind of screenplay or scenario
mm,
type thing, yeah, I mean it's going to be tough. I think though with reference manuals, I'm finding that they
mm.
just get more expensive.
Right, that's
So
true. That is true.
so,
Yeah.
uh,
Mm,
so there's some interesting parallels to where you're at,
mm.
but also of some clear forks. So a couple of weeks ago, I very quietly released Laurentia Second Edition,
Oh, nice.
and at like
Cool.
now, so the thing is, I okay. I don't know how to say this without it sounding like ego, but it you know, there is no book like it. There
Mm,
is no book as thorough. There's
nice.
nothing anywhere in
Mm,
astrology that covers what I cover in that book.
wow.
It's 849 pages. It's a dang
Wow.
dictionary. Laurentia 1 was 800 charts
Yeah.
of qualitative people watching to patterns, 1,000
Right.
asteroids. 800 charts, 1,000 asteroids. Laurentia's second edition is 46,000 charts,
Whoa.
21,000 asteroids.
Holy shit.
It took me 2 years to write.
Wow.
It's not people watching, it's mass statistics that my computer ran for months. And
Wow.
then I took the 2 years and turned these tables into little scenarios. Tried to use a little AI, found that I couldn't
Right.
because you needed to know life stories and
Mm-hmm.
you needed to know people and you had to cross-check it against real charts and stuff like that. And it's if you're into astrology and you're into asteroids, it's the Encyclopedia Britannica of astrology. Like,
Wow.
I mean, like
That's
it's
cool.
thorough as hell. There's
Wow.
nothing like it. Nothing like it anywhere.
Mm.
I went through the publishing process there with Ingram Spark, of course.
You did Ingram, yeah.
And um I and I recently also on YouTube recorded a little introductory video telling people how to use it
Nice. Yeah.
because I mean folks aren't going to know when they look up these 21,000 asteroids. Okay, wow, I find it in my chart, then what? So, but the funny thing about it is that um it it so first of all, I tried to proofread it and I did. But it's a dictionary. It's
Yeah.
800 pages. And so
Ouch.
normally, I read through it 6 times. I can only get through this 4 times. And then
Right.
staring at it on the computer, my eyes glazed over. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't anymore. So I said, I need to have a print copy in my hand, which I actually have now.
Nice.
And I talk about it in the video how currently the version of Laurentia floating out there has a messed up cover because it's technically still being proved. Now, it's not riddled with typos or things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But at the same time, I know that the version of Laurentia that's out there right now is rare. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's going to stop being there maybe by
Right.
September or something.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm done with the print copy, flipping through pages and just
Mm-hmm.
catching things differently.
Yeah.
But as far as paying for it and paying for information,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really um I've really kind of made a game out of dodging the internet and
Mm-hmm.
not not like I don't go out there, I don't promote
Yeah.
my books or
Yeah.
anything like that because it's kind of it's an interesting thing being on the opposite of your own team. If
Mm.
I promote my books, then I have to engage folks over the
Yeah.
content.
True.
And it, like there's still folks who will join the statistics channel and they're still asking me questions and I'm not trying
Mm-hmm.
to be a jerk, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't be responding to people over
Mm-hmm.
stuff like some guy recently on my YouTube channel says, oh, man, where do I get this data set? How do I get this data set, please?
Wow.
He's asking about something, but he's asking about a machine learning video that I
Mm-hmm.
recorded 2 years ago. And like I said, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I can't answer him because one, I don't know where that data set is anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because the hard drive failure and stuff like that. But two, my data is from all over the place. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
from all over different sources.
Yeah.
And like that's not the kind of data set that you could just say, hey, here it is.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I like I think I'm testing the limits in terms of how much can I get away with in the shadows. It's like Dracula is
Mm-hmm.
sitting in his castle, he's doing experiments on humans
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And he he knows one day everyone's gonna know him as Dracula. But for right now, he's gonna see how much he can do without being found out. And so
You
I,
just you just need
we
somebody to do it for you, basically.
dude,
I'm sitting right here, man. I'm ready.
yeah. No, well, so that's the thing. I don't. I've started to kind of creep back onto certain social media,
Mm-hmm.
and just like conversations and stuff. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trolling LinkedIn, and I'm not really trolling.
Yeah. You just
But
lurking.
lurking, just, um,
Yeah.
but I really,
I know.
it's weird.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
weird
lot.
talking to people about your stuff. Like
Yeah,
like
it
you're
can be.
you're you're comfortable and you can
Yeah.
actually trade ideas and share ideas.
Right.
And for me, I feel like every conversation about my work is justification. I have to justify, I have
Mm.
to explain, I have
Yeah.
to
No,
start
I
at
feel that.
zero.
No, I feel that.
And
Yeah.
there were so many times where I went through rewrites for Laurentia second edition, and I got real snarky, I got real defensive, and ultimately I took that stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Those little bullet points about
Mm-hmm.
astrology and pseudoscience, and
Right. Yeah.
justifying the fact that you can use statistical methods on it. And finally, I killed the snark and produced, I think, a really decent book. But man, every conversation about what I do ends like that. Like you don't just walk
Mm.
up on the street and say, "Hey, buy my statistical astrology." First of all, do you know what do you think you know about astrology?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's advanced astrology, and then there's off the grid astrology that doesn't
Right.
believe
Yeah.
advanced
You're.
astrology.
Yeah.
And after a while, it's too
Right.
much work. I'm like, bro, this is just a hobby. That's all it is. It's
Right.
all it is a hobby. I have a whining dog. Just a second. There, just close this
Yeah,
door here.
we've got man, Zoom, really clamping down. It used to be 45 minutes for the free. Now I think it's only 30 minutes because I just got the
Mm,
10-minute warning.
mm.
Ugh, man,
I
these
see it up there.
platforms. Yeah,
I see it up there.
what
Oh,
a
oh, hey.
what a
So
pain.
speaking of platforms, what I did not know about YouTube video quality was that so I tried to record these videos
Mm-hmm.
explaining statistics, and the quality was horrible, just horrible. I didn't know
No.
this. You probably know this, right?
Yeah,
Or
well, it depends on your camera too. Like, are you using a
well,
webcam
it
or
partly depends on your camera, but
it
I'm telling
does?
you that
Yeah.
I've been using the same camera and the upload quality is absolutely terrible. So
Well,
finally,
okay, go ahead, go ahead. I'll
so
let you know
so
about that because I know about that.
yeah, so finally I was looking and I found a Reddit post. I'm not even on Reddit really, but I
Mm-hmm.
was on for this one. And it was like, you're a low content producer and your channel isn't worth a damn. YouTube's algorithms know this, and they use the compression rate, which is terrible, for your kinds of videos.
Mm-hmm.
And they want you to upgrade to premium, and if you do anything less than 1440p, the YouTube
Hmm.
algorithm is going to show you what kind of content producer you really are. And-
I hadn't had that perspective, and now that I hadn't heard that, but it does make sense. Because I have YouTube Premium because we watch YouTube all the time. Basically, my YouTube
Mm,
Joanna's basically taken over, corrupted my
uh-huh,
main YouTube, but I have my
uh-huh.
own basically for Hack Studios. But
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that happening. I don't know because I was gonna say when you first upload a video, I don't know when you watched it, but it takes it a while to settle in and it looks nasty basically like the first 12 hours before they generate a higher version, but they may only generate that for premium users. I don't know
Ah,
because
mm,
I have
yeah.
YouTube Premium, so
No, like
I'm not
like
sure
all my
because
stats,
my
my
channel's pretty
Excel
small
table.
too. My channel's
Yeah,
pretty
my
small.
Excel tables, I'm trying to explain how to do things,
Yeah.
and it's messed up.
Yeah, and I can see
Nah,
that because there's a lot of people uploading shit to YouTube every
yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
how else do it's easy. Pays,
yeah,
doesn't pay. Well, if they're paying,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what was going on, and it it
Yeah.
it 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 hurt my soul a little bit
It sucks, yeah.
when you read it, but then I was like, okay, well, yeah, all
Yeah.
right, true.
And there's
That's
alternatives.
true. Whatever.
We can talk offline. There's
Mm,
alternatives to uploading YouTube, but YouTube is just the most convenient and it's where everybody is. Like people will find you on YouTube.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
one of the reasons I've been going harder on it. Not really going that hard, but I've been going through more efforts to produce
Yeah.
videos. Um, we got to talk about this trailer, man. And I haven't showed it to you because I know you've been busy, but I just put
Mm,
out a trailer for Sink Hole.
mm,
Um, dude, I made a screenplay
mm.
from
Okay.
the from the book manuscript because
Yeah.
video is kind of my last frontier. Like I've got
Mm,
sound, I've got music, I know how to write a good story, I know how to write good characters, I know how to publish books, but video, I've made a lot of videos, but I had never really tried to make like
yeah.
shot for shot, like thinking about the shots, thinking about it as if it was a TV show, as if it was a
Yeah.
movie. How do you put this together? I
Hmm.
had no idea. I'd never tried. So I generated I went back and forth and made the screenplay of the first scene, and I made shots with
Okay.
AI using I came up with a shot list and then I made all the shots and then I just assembled them together and then of course there's transitions. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, that's the thing that sucks when you tell at least right now when you tell people you used AI, they assume that oh, it's one button press, oh, it's lazy, blah blah blah. It's like
Yeah, no.
okay. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
it's the way I'm using it, you don't understand. But the result was, and Ryan, I'm quoting Ryan. I told Ryan about it. I showed it to him. He's like, "Man, this is like a
Yeah.
full-on manga. Like
Oh, okay.
it could be
Okay.
like a TV show."
Okay.
And I
Very cool. Very
animated,
cool.
I did some light animation,
Yeah.
and I showed like a van moving, and then I showed the characters, and then there's a fight scene, and then at the end, there's the intro to
Okay.
Sinkhole using the theme
Okay.
song.
Oh, very cool.
I gotta let you see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's video. I mean, I feel
Hmm.
like everybody knows it. Even on Substack, I saw that they're trying to push a new video arm for and Substack's
Hmm.
known for writing, mainly
Hmm.
writing. That's the
Hmm.
main thing, but they've pushed into podcasting. Like I just found out last night that you can publish podcasts to Spotify from Substack.
Hmm.
That is a
Hmm.
brand new feature that
Interesting.
because now, I had to axe all my podcasts, like I said last time, but
Hmm.
just for Substack for free, I can just set up a podcast and I can put Serious and Limited back up. I can put
Oh, okay.
these Sinkhole back up. Like I can
Yeah.
start putting these up again
Okay.
in
Okay.
podcast form on my Substack.
Okay.
So that I just found that out last night. So
Very
anyway,
cool.
these alternate forms of media are what's happening. But back to the conversation of people not paying for information. I've seen that. I felt that. I've seen myself doing less of the
Hmm.
old style of online courses. You
Yeah.
pay for an online course and then you just go
Yeah.
through. That model is basically dying. The skill shares, the Udemy,
Yeah.
these
I
courses,
think
it's
that
basically dead.
we may have said this before, but it's even more true. The people, I don't think people have any money. I think
It's money. It's
they're
partially
subscribed
money,
out, you know.
but also accountability. It's not what people want anymore. And the
Hmm.
fact that you can go onto YouTube and say, like, I was just watching a video from a course I bought on Udemy about voice acting because I'm
Hmm.
doing the audiobook right now and I just want to,
Hmm.
increase my skills. But I could easily go on YouTube and find if I really wanted to hunt. Some of these things you have to hunt for. But
Yeah.
it doesn't take very long to find something that's okay, this is helpful for what I need. I don't need to buy a course. I don't need to do this to get the base level, right? But
Yeah.
where it breaks down is when people want to go further, they want feedback, they want
Hmm.
accountability, they want to actually move towards producing something tangible with that
Yeah.
skill, then they will pay more likely. But the old style of, okay, here's just this laundry, this mega course, like 10 years ago, the mega
Yeah.
course was the thing. Like people were coming out with all this. Hey, this is everything you need to learn HTML to become a front end developer. This is
Yeah.
everything you need to
Yeah.
learn for this. Those are kind of dead, I think.
I think there's a fork now, and that's really unfortunate because it's definitely a haves and a have-nots thing. Like
Mm,
I work my day job at a pretty mega business,
mm-hmm.
and we're still, I mean, if you're, and it's not antiquated, but the courses and the certifications, and it's the
Right.
big corporate accounts and
Yeah.
stuff, Office 365 is kind of cheapish for you, but for
Mm-hmm.
the institution, it's just mega, mega upon mega.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely two different markets. There's the
Yeah,
there's
for
the
sure.
you know the subscriptions for the little people,
Mm-hmm.
and we just subscribe up until we can't pay for that stuff anymore.
Right.
And then there's the monolithic kind of mega service
Right.
it's still in demand, but you have to be attached
It's the
to
enterprise. It's the
the
enterprise level.
enterprise stuff.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
that's where the
Yeah.
AI stuff is going too. I've
Yeah.
seen it slowly shift from they tested it with a bunch of us little guys last year and they're like, "Okay, we feel like we get the green light with this." And now they've shifted towards enterprise. I'll come back to this. We're getting cut off again, but
Hmm.
we'll take a quick break and come
All
back.
right. Yep. Record.
Okay,
Dude,
my
that
bad.
was pretty entertaining.
What? Oh, you
I
saw the
was
trailer?
watching. I did, yeah. I was sitting there watching it.
What did you think?
I thought it was cool. I was I was like, what is all this? What's all this little creative stuff, man, going on?
And
Yo.
it's so it's rough around the edges. It's basic,
No,
but
but it was very
it's
cool. It
it's
was
not,
really,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah, 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 yeah.
and all the stuff has come
Hmm.
together. The sound, the voice
Yeah,
acting, all
yeah.
of the images,
Okay.
composing them in an interesting way. And I learned from making that trailer
Hmm.
that it's not easy to do. Like when we watch movies and watch TV shows, what you're seeing is the finished product, but actually putting it
Yeah.
together and constructing it. Because I thought about it this way, like when we're writing, it's you're painting pictures with words, but words are
Hmm.
your only tool.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to making something even as simple as that trailer, all of a sudden it's not just words, it's the images, it's the composition of the shots. It's
Hmm.
when do you present these to make it visually interesting? It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
timing of the sound effects. It's the quality of the sound. I don't have access to a great sound environment. I have this microphone in a very echoey and concrete place. So that's an issue. It's the music. It's when does it come? When does it go? All these
Yeah,
decisions, it's tough. I
yeah.
tell you, it's
That
rough.
was very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
I saw it did look like a manga.
Right.
It's yeah.
And it's so
Very nice,
basic.
bro.
And because I used Canva for everything,
Uh-huh. Mm,
and
mm,
Canva is very limited in their video production stuff. Like it's meant for
mm, mm.
PowerPoints. It's meant for like jazzed up PowerPoints. It's not meant
Yeah, yeah.
for actual, okay, keyframes and all these animations and zooming and panning. You can't do any of that stuff in Canva. So you have to kind
Yeah.
of fake it. Um, but I love how the intro comes in at the end. Like she
Uh-huh.
drops and then it's like
Uh-huh.
man, it was cool. And then the timing
Mm,
of the song and then just the clips from the different videos and then it
mm.
ends and I was proud of it. I was
Yeah,
very proud
yeah.
of it, man. I'm trying to think what we were talking about before we had to break.
Information, like information access and
Yeah,
you know.
information access and all this stuff. It's hard because you have to flip the model in your head. And I think this is
Mm,
where my experience now in entrepreneurship and all my time that I spent on X Twitter the last 2.5 years or so is really starting to come out because I see every day that not a day goes by that I don't see writers complaining about how, oh, there's all this AI content everywhere. It's so hard to
yeah.
promote your books. Nobody wants to buy anything. You sit there, you slave away on the book, and then
Mm,
nobody buys. The game's changed.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
changed right under our noses. And as you said, you're writing reference books, so reference is different because when you're making a good reference book, you're basically distilling and organizing the information in a way that's easily contained. Like you're not going to have to
Mm,
go all over the internet. And in your case, you're making stuff that it really doesn't exist. Nobody's really talking this deep about
yeah.
astrology and the way you're doing it, like the data heavy focus. Very few people are. And that still commands people will pay for that eventually when they find it's like, where else am I going to find this? But with most other things, especially me as primarily fiction,
Mm,
I had to think about that, like it's the way it is. And I was thinking about it also because I've read other accounts too, because somebody was saying it's never been easy to
yeah.
write fiction. Like you go back the centuries. Like I read something that, what was it? Edgar Allan Poe.
Mm.
I guess to get his stuff off the ground, he wrote something like, "Oh, I know 500 people and I will send 500 letters or whatever with my stories or
Wow.
whatever."
Huh.
And so
Didn't
dude
know
was
this.
grinding back in the
Huh.
19th century.
Dang.
That was the game. I mean, and you think about it,
Mm,
how else was anybody going to find your stuff? Here you are writing your quill and ink and you've written these tomes of stories, but how the hell else, you going to
yeah.
walk down the street, get on your horse and throw them out in the wind or something like that. What the hell are you gonna do? There's no internet, like
Yeah,
how are you gonna get to people to pay attention?
yeah,
This has always been a problem. And now it's more in our face because we see people scrolling
yeah.
by. We see
Yeah.
hundreds, thousands, dozens of people doing the same thing that we're doing.
Well, so and this is why normally I don't talk so much about my work. I try to,
No,
keep
man,
it low
shout it
key and
out.
everything.
This is our
But
podcast.
but but you know, the main reason I've written this stuff and I I basically got into astrology to understand social problems.
Mm,
My social problems. Like I'm like, wow, this chart actually is describing some real crazy stuff that I went through. I guess I could look at how the source code is diagnosing this, right? I can see
right.
what these planets are saying about stuff I already know. I don't do predictive. I don't believe in
Hmm.
that. I don't think it's, I mean, I think people who know how to predict, that's a talent. I
Yeah,
myself
different
would
field.
not use astrology to predict anything.
Right,
But to describe stuff you already know, it sounds like it's, well, how useful is that?
right.
But oh man, that's mad useful because essentially you're getting the answer key for why certain things happen.
Mm,
And once you get the answer key, people don't know this until they've started to really watch the patterns in their own lives. But once you get the answer key, you're going to take that test again and
mm,
again and again and again. It's very, very rare
right,
that you go through something one time.
right,
The event may take that shape one time, but the
right.
pattern comes out in a lot of ways. And
Mm,
so to get the answer key just once is to understand everything like that
right,
pattern. And so, I wrote these books, and especially the asteroid dictionary, because there needed to be a better framework
right,
than just saying, hey, this is the big five personality traits.
right.
We can describe people. We're
Hmm.
done.
Right.
It's so inadequate, the stuff that we have in academia to work with. You
Hmm.
can't use Big Five to understand why, one country invades another or why one party does this or what,
Right.
you can't use that stuff for it. It's nigh useless. It's basically useless. It
Hmm.
hurts. I remember going through my PhD and being trapped in frameworks like that. I want to study
Yeah.
something deep. I want to study psychopathy or criminology or social relations or whatever, and all I can do is this damn multiple regression on a big five. And my
Hmm.
committee doesn't want to hear anything else.
Right.
And I'm like, man, it gets richer than that. It gets deeper than that. I mean, even just basic nature. The lion is going to take down the gazelle. You're trying to tell the lion what his big five is. He don't care.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I
You
don't
need
care.
you need you need at least something to
That's funny.
describe the law of the jungle. And
Right.
there are asteroids in their book which describe the law of the jungle. Now,
Yeah.
sorry, that's kind of a soapbox, but you're talking about how the game has changed.
Hmm.
And like if you have the answer key, you can look at things that uh, you've kind of ended up with and
Hmm.
don't know what to do with
Yeah.
and learn something about what to do with them.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think of what did Nintendo start off as like textiles or something like that?
Yeah. They were like a playing card company.
Playing cards. So,
Yeah.
so you can imagine, back when Nintendo is still a playing card
Right.
company, but it's not really hitting. Why is it
Right.
not hitting? What?
Hmm.
The future answer is that the games are meant to be played remotely by people who aren't where you are
Hmm.
using your cards from where you are.
Right. Exactly.
Like
You
you got
changed
the
the frame.
sense of it, but if Nintendo had an astro chart, it does, but I mean you'd have to find its founding, but
Hmm.
you could look at Nintendo's astro chart and understand it from its playing card mode and
Right.
see something else hinted in it,
Right.
which speaks of the future version of Nintendo.
Mm.
So, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, I needed to write Laurentia too, as the foundation for other stuff I'm doing.
Right.
But, as far as the game changing, I think there's really a need for folks to look at their patterns
Hmm.
and it's a big help, frankly, having the asteroids as patterns.
Right.
There's a crazy science to it. Bro, this is so funny. This is so funny. Earlier, it won't come off as funny, but you'll understand it. So I'm up here in, translating these asteroid sections as I
Mm,
was back in Okinawa. I'm still doing it because there's
mm,
tons of. I found a section which describes. Okay, so hold on. Let me see if I can find this. And I'm going to give you a hint, and I'll bet you can guess what this is talking about. And all of
mm,
these are in the same section. So, oh, here it is. Oh, and I'll give you a hint. This is mom's chart, right?
mm. Okay.
Okay. Now watch this. All in the same section. There's an asteroid which is one's relationship to the pests they encounter
Mm,
and what the appearance of those pests compel.
mm,
Here's the next asteroid. A certain treatment of animals, more
mm.
likely restrictive or
That's funny.
taboo.
That's funny.
Next one. A gag or a joke, a demonstration of a philosophy built on lightly taken events.
Mm,
Here's another one. Birth, the delivery event where one becomes two and compels this region to be enacted. Okay, that's all I'll describe for right now.
mm.
But but is it familiar what that's describing?
Not exactly, but I mean the fact that you mentioned mom, it's like okay, I'm in the
Yeah.
ballpark probably.
Yes. Okay, I'll just tell you what it is. So this is totally a description of snow. And
Right.
there's more
Yeah.
asteroids. There's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. There's seven of them. Uh,
Yeah.
and and so now I was there living in the house when these things were happening.
Right.
And then if I go to the opposite side, it tells you that's the interaction. The opposite side tells you um, the character being interacted with.
Mm,
And there's only four asteroids here, but one of them is uh, from the balcony or some other elevated position, one does something fabulous or fabulously offensive. And Snow used to stand on the steps
mm, right. Yeah. Standing on
and
the
do
steps
this
and scratch.
on,
Yeah.
the back. Yes, she
Yeah.
hated that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought that was so interesting because what are the chances out of 21,000 asteroids
Right. Yeah. That
that a
would
section
apply.
dealing with relating to something and a section dealing with that something will describe a thing so specific as to
Mm,
be familiar. It's a science. And
yeah.
this is part of the reason that again, I don't talk to people about my astrology because I have to start way back at
Yeah. You
zero
have to.
in
Yeah. There's a
order to
lot of.
get people to see what this is. And
Yeah.
and, and I raise that point because, with this is not Big Five. If you have an asteroid which is about doing something fabulous or fabulously offensive,
Hmm.
or how you handle pests, that is mad specific.
Yeah.
And the combinations of those people can use to say, I have this creative talent, I have this business, I have this
Mm,
household, I
yeah.
have this person I'm relating to, and it's going downhill, or it's confusing, or it's got potential, and I don't
Hmm.
know what to do with it. And by having a reference that helps people see deeply, because I mean, there's just too many questions for people to ask
Hmm.
about their lives, right?
Yeah.
Especially now. We got all these people pulling at our subscription money, at our
Hmm.
at our media, our entertainment, our internet, all that stuff. And it's like, when do I have time to
Hmm.
go and really see what the deal is in terms of where I think I should be?
Mm,
So, yeah, man, I think that for folks who are kind of in the new era and they're
mm,
not comfortable with their prospects, um, there's a real there's a real opportunity to step back
hmm.
and look at what you do offer. And, just like Nintendo, the form you think it takes now,
Right.
there's a form that it's gonna take in the future.
Right.
Now, whether
Yeah.
whether
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 you
you
realize
can
that.
identify it and kind of
Hmm.
consciously align with it
That's the hard
is a
part.
different thing.
It's the super
But
hard part. Yeah. And
yeah,
I love
yeah,
that you're talking about this because I think about this now with all I'm doing because it seems so disconnected sometimes because I have to tell other people that, okay, I'm a
yeah,
novelist or I'm a writer.
yeah,
I don't like to go with author. There's
yeah,
something about author that it's just like people throw it around if they've,
yeah,
you know, thought about writing a book or something. I don't know. It just kind of doesn't sound right to me. But novelist sounds like, okay, there's
Yeah,
very few people calling themselves novelists, and I am a
yeah,
novelist.
yeah,
But the fact that I make videos, that I also make music, but then I also
yeah,
use technology and AI as part of my creative process, the
yeah.
fact that I do voice acting, all this stuff, I don't see them as separate. And just
Hmm.
like you're talking about with astrology, like these are forms of relationships relating to people. That's what it is. You
Hmm.
relate to a cat differently than you relate to an abstract concept like work
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
something like that. But these universal truths, you can use them to describe those relationships. And I feel like that's what
yeah,
your astrology is doing. You're taking
yeah,
these things and saying these are very specific things, but they universally apply. And that's how I think of
yeah.
creativity, honestly, because I see it all as, and I thought about it just a couple of weeks ago. My superpower is organization.
Mm.
Like I've always been good at,
Yeah,
I start with the chaos
yeah,
and then I'm good at whittling it down to this is what I need, and then I want to put them in some type of order to where it looks like something. I've
yeah.
done that since we were kids.
And I believe I actually did find a section on that in your chart.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's
Yeah, that is
yeah,
absolutely, and when I pare it
there's like a
down,
superpower section what your talent is.
I just
Yeah,
see order in things.
yeah.
And I don't, because I do it so naturally, and I
Hmm.
never like thought to train. There's no training for that. There is
Yeah.
training, but I mean it just comes very
Mm.
naturally to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why I can just see a bunch of something and then be like, okay, well, that looks like it wants to be this. And then
Mm.
to connect them, it's just tools. It's
Yeah,
tools, it's technology, it's language. Every sphere has its own language, the language of music, of
yeah,
of cinematography, of art, of writing. They're different.
yeah.
Japanese, it's different.
Hmm.
But the process to put it into something that somebody else can understand and appreciate is the same to me. And that's what I'm seeing more and more now. And AI has come along and
Yeah,
basically said, now we're not just connecting things in like domains. We're not just
yeah,
connecting writing. We're not just connecting the set that is Japanese. We're branching out
yeah,
into like things and pulling them together to where something like the trailer is possible. And this is one of the things I want to do with Hack Studios is help people
yeah.
to it's less about the tools because last year I was very focused on the tools and creative
Hmm.
futurism and all that stuff. But I'm glad I've gotten away from that because the tools are always changing. They're rising, they're falling
Yeah,
every day. They change.
yeah.
But the processes and the manner of thinking about it, where other people come in, is different. Uh,
Mm. Hmm.
I I like that way of thinking about creativity in
Yeah.
general.
And I have gotten a sense of what SATA is supposed to be
Mm,
and the reason why it is so difficult to get it running.
right,
Is, much like Nintendo, it's what it's supposed to do has, I'm not going to say nothing to do with publishing. It's a form of publishing,
right,
but it really is saving humans as data. That's
right.
what SATA is going to be.
Yeah,
We collect biographies, the full scope biography, and it somehow turns into this, I don't want to call it an algorithmic package, but a network package
right.
for whatever, for
Yeah.
whatever reason that network package will be used for. That is what SATA is supposed to do.
Mm,
And it's one of those things where the technology it just doesn't, the technology kind of exists, but the meta technology on it for putting it together and
right.
establishing a
Yeah.
workflow and all of that other stuff, it's not
Mm-hmm.
there.
Right.
So I mean, we're still in kind of that gee whiz
Right.
version of things. I was at work and they mentioned the Copilot for our
Mm-hmm.
development IDE IntelliJ.
Yep.
So now you can go into IntelliJ and it's going to do code suggestions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it um, it I'm sorry, I'm distracted because our dog is crying his ass off right now in the background, and it's really bugging. He's just
Oh.
doing it, and he's only doing it because he can't come in here while
Mm-hmm.
I'm recording. So he's just he's moaning and singing. I'm sorry.
Singing.
It's really getting on my nerves.
I can't hear anything, so
It's getting
thankfully.
on my nerves. It's been nonstop for the last
Yeah.
20 minutes. It's
Oof,
20 minutes, bro.
20 minutes.
Still doing, and he sounds like a car hit him.
Oh,
And I'm like, yo, melodrama, bro.
right,
Yo,
right.
melodrama.
Dramatic. Yeah.
I mean, he's like, I want what I want right now. I
Right.
want what I
Who hit
want right
you?
now. I said, yeah, and I'm like, yo, dad says you can't have it though. Dad's recording.
It's funny.
He's still doing it. And
Yeah.
he's going to keep doing it. I
Yep. Gonna keep going.
swear. I swear, kids.
Mm.
Anyways, so I lost my train of thought because of that stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, um, I think that there's definitely uh, I think maybe people just need to retool, to be honest,
Yeah.
because what's so fascinating about this is that the patterns are I'm not going to say they're the same, but they are for the most part the same. They are social patterns.
Hmm.
Hungry means either seeking food, being hangry, or occupying yourself or whatever. That's like a social little rule set,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And as long as in your creativity you understand what your basic social rule set is, I like people, I like making stuff, I like consulting.
Hmm.
There. Then independent of whether it's the one-to-one freelance business that you were used to, or working for some company, or
Yeah.
posting on with through blockchain or whatever, that same pattern is still yours. It's
Hmm.
just, and as far as the different tools, um, I mean, there are paths to make some of those things easy.
Hmm.
Um, but
For
and
sure.
of
Yeah.
course,
There's,
some of those, and then some of those things are very hard, and
it
they'll
is
never get any
true.
easier.
Some of them
Yeah.
are extremely complicated. And yeah, it's true, man. And the hard part about this new era of business and of creativity is you you can't just you can't just rely on a single thing. I mean, back in the day, it used to be just, you could just write
Mhm.
and okay, that's fine. You're just a writer. But now we have been given more tools, more opportunities, and that's a good thing overall because I don't have to wait until
Yeah.
somebody sponsors my stuff or like with music. I watched this video about this music creator who was like talking to I think he was the bassist who played with Michael Jackson.
Mm.
And he would play, and he's become, he's relatively famous, not really, but he's done well for himself. And he was
Mhm.
talking about the old days, how, if you wanted to record a song and get it out to where other people besides you and your family or the people that recorded it with could hear it, man, you you had to have access to a studio. You had to have access to an engineer. You had to have hope that somebody liked you or liked your sound enough to where they might think about putting it on the radio. And then there's
Mm.
all these, every gate was another chance that
Yeah.
you're not going to get your stuff
Yeah.
out. And that's what
Yeah.
it was back in the day.
Yeah.
There was no other way
Yeah.
to make a song, let alone distribute it. Now we don't have that problem.
You're right, and we're used to kind of looking at it and saying, well, it's difficult,
Right.
or it's complicated. It is complicated, but man, the reach is amazing.
The reach is
Like
amazing. Yeah.
there's no way, I think, before the web, in the current state of things, that I could sell books all over the world.
Same.
But
Yeah.
that is what's
That's
happening. It's
exactly
been happening since 2016. People in
right.
Japan, people in the Netherlands, they buy my stuff.
Right.
They're talking astrology. And man, if I were back in, man, even 5 years earlier,
Hmm.
I still would have been messing around before Ingram Spark. I would have been
Hmm.
messing around with writing letters to publishers because
Right.
that's how I started. I'm like,
That was
hey,
the only way.
I
Yeah.
got this idea. They're like,
Yeah.
thumbs down, thumbs
Yeah.
down, the Roman thumbs down, and it's like,
Hmm.
man, but these cats ain't even qualified to talk about my
Right,
stuff though.
exactly. They don't
You know
even
what I'm saying?
know.
They don't
Yeah,
even know what's in it.
they're
They don't know
using a
what's in it.
completely different.
They don't understand it.
Yeah,
And what do I look like begging these guys for a foot in the door? They don't know and
I
they don't
know.
want to know my stuff at all.
Right.
Right. So like there's huge opportunity. Now, I mean, when you think about the saturation of 8
Right.
billion people and
That's
8 billion
yeah,
or 8 billion people's worth of markets, I should say.
right.
Uh yeah, I mean that can be disheartening because it's like, man, I
Absolutely.
can't be
Yeah.
seen.
That's the
Yeah,
other
but the
side
thing
of the
is you
coin.
can be seen, except the pond is a lot bigger.
The
But
pond is a lot bigger. The
yeah.
chances of actually somebody catching fire, and that's what I've been doing. Like we started this episode with, going the one to one and saying like, basically, I looked up your stuff. There's some type of overlap with stuff that I like, and I think you might like this. Check it. Here's
Yeah.
this, and people want that connection because and now with the AI, there's so many bots, man. There's so many. I
Hmm.
LinkedIn, I get so many bot emails. X is,
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
riddled with bots. There's bots everywhere. There's people
Yeah.
that their content is all automated. They're
Yeah.
using AI and maybe they're paring it down or whatever, but
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. And so people are slowly getting tired of this.
And
They're
that
getting
is
tired of it.
I forgot to finish my thought about that IntelliJ Copilot. It's great if you know what you're doing. And
Right.
so they're kind of recommending it. They say, hey,
Right.
go into your IDE and turn this on. Go hook
Mm-hmm.
it up to where it can autocomplete stuff. And we had to check in with our manager, and the manager's like, okay, who's using Copilot? How's it going? And I didn't raise my hand, and
Mm-hmm.
I did come back, and I was like, I'm use a word to describe yourself or describe how you feel. And I said, I'm learning. I'm learning. I said, but I did not hook up Copilot because I know how I learn, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna have more questions and answers. When that code completes for me, I'm gonna be like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Right.
But that's not how I learn.
Right.
And so I really don't prefer the auto completion on it.
Right.
I mean, I get it,
Yeah.
but
There's an
no,
active component to this too. I
yeah,
like that you're bringing this up because a lot of people are still in this AI. They're either anti-AI or they're super accelerationists or something like that.
yeah,
There's these two camps that, of course, these extremes have taken hold online. But
yeah, yeah.
there's a middle ground where I'm exploring, and I know a smattering of other people who are there that are trying to understand this technology and how its good sides, its pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
But this is definitely one of the pros of you have the option to, I don't know how it is and they've integrated it into your system, but when you're using a direct chat bot like Claude or ChatGPT and you're coming up with the prompts yourself, you
Mm,
can tailor it to
yeah,
that preference. You
yeah,
could say, yeah, okay, do autocompletes, but I want you to explain any code that you write
yeah,
line by line so I understand what you're doing.
yeah.
This is exactly what I do with editing my work with AI.
Mm,
I
mm,
say, I want you to proofread this, look for parallelism, but tell me why you made the change. And
mm,
so
mm,
it's more than just a productivity tool of getting stuff out faster. And obviously, I don't have to hire an editor, but
yeah,
it also becomes a learning device to
yeah.
where I'm like, and I did this process all for Sinkhole. I edited the
Hmm.
entire thing going through this, and this is the first time, unprecedented. I never edit my stuff this heavily. I'll go through it,
Mm,
but editing is definitely one of my weak points. Like I
mm,
hate doing it. It takes a long time. I'm not super detail oriented. I know it's a huge weakness for me. That's why I have people like you and Joanna read my stuff because y'all have more of a critical, analytical eye. But using the AI was a game changer, man,
mm, mm.
because it just showed me that I was like, oh, okay, like that's an interesting edit. I
Yeah,
wouldn't have
yeah.
thought to write that. I wouldn't have thought
Yeah,
to write it that
yeah,
way.
and again, we got good counterbalance here because I'm editing Laurentia too, and there's a bit of AI in Microsoft Word,
Yeah,
a little bit of it,
there's
and
a little bit. Mhm.
but I made up so many words and so many phrases, and I
That's
did it on
funny.
purpose
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's no other way to really capture certain kinds of concepts
right,
other than to invent words
right.
like, e- Excelifying or something like that. I just made that
Right.
up right now.
Yeah.
And, words gonna be like, this is not a word. And I say, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Leave it alone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true, man. You're gonna get that, but I no, we got the 10-minute warning. All right, that's cool. No, that's good. They give you 10 minutes. Um, but yeah, man, I think that's what people are missing. Like they're
Mhm.
seeing the in output that it can, especially
Yeah,
now. Music has really made strides since last year. Last year, this time, I was around getting close to the time that I had ChatGPT do a whole song, and it
yeah.
turned out like you would expect. It wasn't good.
Dang!
It wasn't, yeah, it was a piece of dog shit, man.
No,
But
it wasn't. The scream
well,
was
no, so
interesting.
that wasn't ChatGPT. I'm
Oh,
talking
that was
about,
something
yeah,
else.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was you're thinking of early Suno. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Suno, it was okay. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
random stuff. But now,
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard did I
Yeah.
send you the final boss song that I made for Sinkhole? I don't know if I
I don't know, but from the trailer, I could see that the music
right.
had come a long way. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you just hear the theme song of Sinkhole and
Yeah.
you
It
cannot
was sounding
tell.
good. It was
It
sounding good.
sounds good. It sounds
Yeah.
good. And I
Yeah.
did do some mixing on it and I added some of the
Yeah.
flourishes in, but that's 80% AI, that
Yeah.
song.
Neat. Yeah.
And I think people are seeing this and that's what they focus on. They focus like, "Oh my God, it can do this task so well." Like to where you
Hmm.
can't even tell. Same with writing.
Yeah.
It can just write stuff reasonably well. And if you know how to edit just even a little bit, then you
Yeah.
can pass it off. I mean, that's what I did with Sinkhole. Sinkhole was basically a collaboration. I would write a little bit, see what the
Yeah.
AI can do. It's hit and miss. Keep going. Oh, it was really good. Okay, I'll build off of that. It was just kind
Yeah.
of this pair writing type of collaborative type of experience. But
Yeah.
my point is, people are not using it to where it's like this. They're missing the opportunity to to make whatever they're good at better or
Hmm.
take over stuff like editing for me. Hey, take that shit over and tell me
Yeah.
what's good. And I understand
Yeah.
enough that, it has some biases in the way it edits. It's definitely trained to optimize for like that New York Times bestseller type thing.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
where and I know what you think when I say that, but I think that's a good framework.
No,
But
it is good, but I saw pieces of that in the Laurentia where Word was
right,
trying to make certain kinds of
exactly.
suggestions. It said this language may offend your audiences.
May
I'm like,
offend, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
know,
They get
I
on
know.
this moral tip and
Leave it
then
alone. Leave it alone
but
though.
exactly. I get
You
like
know
that
what I'm
too. No,
saying?
I'm like, no, I want him to say fuck here. Like
You
I,
know.
I want, but
Yeah.
it's I was saying that because it does have its skew. It is biased, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, good editing is about clarity. That's the whole point of what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
What is happening in the story, you want it to be crystal clear to the reader so they
Yeah.
understand and this is I'm coming from mostly the fiction side, but it's the same in
Hmm.
nonfiction too. You want to be as clear as possible so people don't get confused. And it's hard to do that on the first go when you're just coming out with the ideas, you're just writing the
Yeah.
asteroids or whatever. You have to really think about that. That's why editing editors exist.
Yeah.
That's why you do it. And the AI gets you there that much faster. But
It does.
I do want to cut this episode because last episode was really long. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're getting down to the last 5 minutes. I
Hmm.
think this is a good conversation, man. I think we talk a lot about creativity, but I think that's the moral of the story is if you're listening to this, things have changed. You can't just continue to do just your one thing. If you are, you're doing yourself a disservice, not only because that's just the way things are now. People discover stuff a lot on video now. So if you're not doing video, I felt on the outs for video for a long
Mm.
time until last year. I forced myself
Yeah.
to just make. I literally did 100+ videos
Yeah.
last year, small ones, long ones, whatever,
Mm.
and just get used to pumping them out. But
Yeah.
then you're also AI is here to fill in the gaps if you know how to use it. And
Hmm.
yesterday there's this lady who has a Japanese job board and I'd been going back and forth with her a little bit on LinkedIn and I made a video of when I translated Sirius and Limnic to
Mm.
Japanese, which is anybody knows it's rare to be able to. It just doesn't happen to where you translate
Yeah.
something into your non-native language.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, yeah, this is through AI and this is how I did it. And I smartly recorded a video of my process as I was doing it.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
just spent 5 days straight sitting here transferring English
Yeah.
to Japanese. And I made
Yeah.
a video and she came back and said, wow, I had
Yeah.
no idea that this was even possible.
Yeah.
And there's so many people like that. I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. She hasn't even seen my other stuff, like the trailer, that the images are AI generated,
Mm.
but a lot of the images I had to jazz up. I punched them up. I know how to do space and distance now from doing
Mm.
animation and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's not just AI. And then at the end of the day, I've talked about this before. It's those images would not exist in that same form if I had not said, I want this type of person, this look
Mm.
like this. It's like it's just a different way of creativity,
Yeah. Yeah.
different way of creating things. But I know I'm getting on a little bit of a soapbox, but I want more people. I was happy when she said that because I was like,
Mm.
that's good. I want more people to understand this process
Yeah.
and how it works, and that it's not just clicking a button and putting in a prompt and then getting some type of poof from a magic machine.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
still thought. There's a heavy level of curation. This skill of curation is something that a lot of people don't have, and
Mm.
I've cultivated it for years because I've always been like Ryan joked with me the other day. He's like, "Man, I remember when you always used to carry dice around when you were a kid."
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and so there's a level of curation in that, right?
Uh-huh.
Because first you have to curate what gets into the set.
Uh-huh.
What is the possibility? That is a curation in itself.
Yeah.
And then there's an evaluation when it rolls a 1 out of a 6 or whatever, and it's like, "Oh, Kirby Superstar. Do I want to play that again?"
Yeah.
There's a there's a
Yeah.
curation that happens there, and I've done that
Mhm.
over and over and over
Yeah.
again in multiple different domains.
Yeah.
And after a while, you just get good at
Yeah.
knowing where your internal compass is
That's
set
the
to.
pattern, man. That's what I'm saying. That's the pattern.
Exactly.
And so when the times change, you can just take your process. You can be like, okay, same
Exactly,
process,
and I feel like I
different
can
different
do that.
space.
Same process, different space. I can just all I need to and, there is a learning that goes on.
Hmm.
There's a vocabulary, there's a culture with every domain is different, and you gotta
Hmm.
learn that. But that comes quicker than the skill of it's the same thing. There's pieces, I wanna put them together into something, and I don't
Hmm.
wanna look at the Lego Directions box set either.
Oh yeah, they
Like, I wanna actually make something that's
yeah,
mine. Like,
yeah,
like, I remember that was what we used to do. We'd
yeah,
buy the box, and hours later, that joint was destroyed. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, "Okay, we're making a flying machine, we're making
yeah.
something else. Okay,
You're
I
like,
built
okay, yeah, seen it. Yeah, we've seen
throw
it.
throw the directions out." Never
Yeah,
literally never looked at them again. I
yeah.
can't remember us ever
No, no.
we did it once, and then that
Yeah,
that book was in the trash.
yeah.
And then it was like, "Okay, let's actually adapt it to our
Uh,
Lego town, what we want." I've been, taking it back that far. Been doing it since we
uh-huh.
were kids.
Yeah,
The toys and tools are just different, but it's the
yeah.
same thing.
Hmm.
And I think that's what people forget. Like you do have to start with the directions. When you don't
Yeah,
know what to do, the directions you're just copying what the
yeah,
manufacturer told you to put out. It's the same
yeah.
thing. It's no different than me copying. Man, I wish I had more time to go on this, but it's more different. It's no different than me copying somebody else's song like I did
Uh-huh.
in early days when I was first doing music because I didn't know how to put together my own songs. But anyway, this has been Two Brothers Talking. I hope you enjoyed this discussion, man. We would go on, but Zoom says it's time to go, so we're gonna go. I've been Keith Hayden. You can find me on keithhayden.net. That's my brother. I love him, Ajani. And I'm glad you're getting out there, man. Hit me up and let's hope you get
Uh,
your work on the map.
yeah.
We're
All
gonna say
right.
goodbye for now. We're gonna talk a little bit in the after show.
All
Peace.
right. See ya.